Hello, New York Giants fans. Welcome back to the Everything New York Giants podcast. Today, we are going to preview the Giants versus the Saints, and then we are also going to talk some Yankees and Mets updates because it has been an interesting and entertaining week. So let's go ahead and get into it. I just want to get this video up live for you guys, for anyone who wants to join. Okay, it says it's live on YouTube. Okay, so, well, okay. Should probably. Okay. Hey guys, going live to do this week's episode of the podcast. Here is the link. I'm live right now for about a half hour, and then I know it's last minute, so don't worry if you're missing this. I'm going to go live and stream the Giants game on Sunday, so I will be on all afternoon. Hello, Kevin. How are you? Let's get this link up there. Okay, YouTube live stream now. All right. All right, so let's get into some Giants updates. So the Giants take on the Ravens on Sunday at MetLife. They are 16.5-point underdogs. In case anyone was wondering what the line was, 16.5. I don't think anyone is probably very surprised by that, but it is the highest spread that we have seen in a while, especially for the Giants. And they have been underdogs in, what was it? It was like almost 30 games in a row or something up until this point. So that doesn't really, I mean, I guess that says a lot for the Giants considering they've been underdogs in a lot of games, but not as many points as this one. So how many Giants fans are going to show this weekend? If the weather is super cold, I would say not many. Last weekend for the Saints game, tickets were going for $1 just to get in the door. So I haven't looked at the tickets. I have seen some people selling them, and they are selling them for very cheap. So no surprise there. I actually debated it and was like, if I don't really have anything else to do, maybe I should just go because it's, what else are you going to do on a Sunday? Like, obviously, I do prefer to watch the game sometimes at home, but it's always fun to be there. But I'm like, if it's going to be cold, no, thank you. So let's quickly go through the game statuses now that we have updates on all of the injuries, because the injury list was longer than a CVS receipt this week. So now there are 4 players listed as out: Nacho, Bobby Okereke, Drew Phillips, and John Runyon. So obviously, to me, the biggest bummer there is Drew Phillips, because as a rookie, I want to see these guys play week in and week out and, improve and things like that. We already lost Tyler Nubin. He was placed on IR this week, and now Drew Phillips is not going to play. So hopefully, he's back next week just to continue to improve and things like that. Doubtful is Cordell Flott and Drew Lock. Dable said today that Drew Lock is likely to be okay to go as the emergency third string quarterback. So let's all keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't come to that, because we don't need an injured third string quarterback going out there. So that's that. And then last up, we have 4 players that are questionable: Deonte Banks, Chris Hubbard, Deontay Johnson, and Austin Schlottman. So the good news about this injury list is that, what's his name? Jermaine Illuminor is going to be ready to go and ready to play, which is huge because this offensive line has obviously been atrocious at tackles the last couple of weeks. So for DeVito's sake, having Illuminor out there is going to help him a little bit. Illuminor is likely to be at left tackle, and Evan Neal is going to be at right tackle. So God bless Tommy DeVito. I honestly, guys, I don't have a ton to say about this game, so I'll get into your questions in a minute. What I did want to do is share, for those of you who are into betting, share a couple of the bets that I will likely take, because I know the run defense did a pretty good job last week against Alvin Kamara, but I don't expect them to do that again this week against Derrick Henry. So I will be taking the overs on everything. DraftKings, like I said, the spread is 16.5. I did anytime touchdown scorers. I did Derrick Henry, obviously, and Zay Flowers. I think that having Banks back, I don't know, is probably going to help us a little bit. We're down now Trey Hawkins, which is not saying a lot. But from the corner perspective, I think someone like a Zay Flowers is probably going to have a really good game. I would say Mark Andrews is going to have a good game because God knows we can't cover the tight end ever, regardless of who's at cornerback. And then, Rashad Bateman also. I will probably do a single anytime touchdown score for him. He's randomly had some touchdowns out of the blue this year. And I feel like if there's any week for him to do it again, it's this week against the Giants. Just like Mark Andrews. Like Mark Andrews will probably have 2 touchdowns against the Giants because like, why wouldn't he? And it's just my luck because Mark Andrews was my tight end. I drafted him. And then 4 weeks into the season, I was like, this guy's a bum and he sucks. And I dropped him. And now he decided to play good football. So what are you going to do? So the passing yards for DeVito is between 175 and 200, which is comical. So 200 is plus 160. I don't think he's going to get that. Lamar, they have 225 is plus 115. I would say he's likely to probably go over 225, although knowing they're going against a really bad Giants run defense, they probably will try to run the ball down our throats, which is what I would do if I was their offensive coordinator because that would probably make the most sense here. Okay, let's go to rushing yards because Derrick Henry, they have at least 100 plus yards. It's 110 where it gets to plus 110. So honestly, I might even take 120, which is plus 150 because like I said, him and Lamar Jackson will both go off on Sunday, no doubt. Lamar Jackson, they have anything over 60 is plus 150. The 50 plus yards is minus 105. So honestly, probably will take the 60 yards on him because here's the thing with this Giants team. The missed tackles are so bad that I can just see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. All they need is to bust through one tackle and they'll be gone for 50 yards. Like they'll hit that in one run. So take the over on those two guys. All right, let's get into your questions because I see a few here. So thinking about going, the tickets are super cheap. I also was laughing to myself because the parking last week, I paid $29 for a parking pass, which is a joke. If you're a season ticket holder, I think you pay $40 for a parking pass now. So I paid under face value for parking. And just, if I'm John Marin, I'm furious, which we all know he is. Kevin asks, if we fired Joe and Brian, do you think we should hire Brandon Brown as our GM? So I really like Brandon Brown. I think he's done a good job. I think coming from the Eagles, he obviously has really good experience. I would say the only thing that I worry about with Brandon Brown is that, like Joe Shane, he's been an assistant general manager, not a general manager. So I am a little worried about that. Ideally, I would like someone, especially when we bring in a new head coach, if they get rid of Dable, I want someone who has head coaching experience, someone like a Vrabel. I am done with these coaches who are only coordinators, except Ben Johnson, and then all of a sudden are going to be head coaches. Or we're going to get rid of Kafka too. His deal is done. Maybe you bring in Ben Johnson to be the offensive coordinator, like if we're really lucky and can somehow appeal to him to get him here. But I really want someone that has that experience. So I think Brandon Brown does have really good experience. I think he's learned from a really good GM and Howie Roseman. So obviously that helps. And, he knows the organization and gone in and out with all of everything that he's learned with the Giants currently, which I also think is great. I wouldn't be opposed to it. That's what I would say. If he ends up being the GM, yes, I would probably be pretty happy about it. I think with the GM too, it's like, I don't know who is going to be out there and who is necessarily going to be a great pick for that. So if anyone has any other names for GM candidates, let me know. I don't know if it's too early for that, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. Yes, Rendy has been 16-point home underdogs, largest in Giants history, I believe. Wow, that would not surprise me. It would not surprise me one bit. We are 0-7 at home this year, and it's about to be 0-8 on Sunday. Would you want Kyle and John as our coach and GM if they get fired from San Francisco? I would say they're probably not going to get fired. I do really like Kyle Shanahan. I think coming from that tree, obviously, he's a really good coach. I worry about that narrative with him where in big moments he fails. And, in New York from day one, he's going to have, I don't want to say big shoes to fill, but he's going to have a lot of work on his plate and he's going to have very high expectations from day one. So I think I would be on board with that. I think they've done a really nice job with the draft and they also have done a really good job of developing players. So I do feel like if they pick Shanahan, if he was an option, that he would do a really good job of bringing in a good OC. He also has experience calling the plays, which Dable did not have. And he would have, he just has enough experience in the league to know what coaching this team so desperately needs. Jermaine Illuminor should be a captain next year. Very good player who wants to be a Giant and give it all for the team. I agree with that. I love Illuminor. I think he has been one of the best parts of the team this year. He is one of the players who tells it like it is and goes above and beyond week in and week out. And he's never missed a game until he was with the Giants this year, because of course he hasn't. So we all know this. This is what happens with the Giants. There is something wrong with the medical staff, the injuries, the surfaces, the cleats. Like, I don't know what it is, but something is up there because he's not the only player to have never missed a game until they become a Giant. But I really like Illuminor. Someone else who I really want to be a captain next year is Brian Burns. He has to be a captain. From everything that I have seen and heard about him, he is an unbelievable voice in the locker room. He's also a veteran in the league. He's been around losing teams. He's dealt with a lot of adversity. And he's someone who's also dealing with a lot of injuries and easily has the option to say to the coaching staff, shut me down this week or shut me down for the season. I'm not feeling great. I can't play the way that I should be able to, blah, blah, blah. He could easily do that. And the fact that he's not in a lost 2-11 season is incredible. And I really appreciate that about him. So I would really like him to be a captain. Malik, I saw this. The Panthers are favored versus the Cowboys. Someone's going to earn some good money this week. Listen, the Cowboys are bad. The Giants are worse, clearly. But the Cowboys are not great. And the Panthers are on their way up. Bryce Young looks like he's finally coming along a little bit. I think it could very well be a close game. I might add them to my parlay, the Panthers. I am TBD on that. Okay, here's my question. Has anyone noticed how our offense has the two speedsters injured with the horrible running yards and lack of focused intellect? I think so. To me, it's a coaching issue, right? The offensive scheme that they're running is very clearly not working. And on top of that, you've got players who definitely seem like they're losing interest. Jalen Hyatt, Malik Neighbors, not finishing his routes, et cetera, et cetera. So I think to me that's on the coaching. Like, you have to do what you can, to put these players in a position to succeed. And then, yes, it's up to them to catch the ball and to get yak yardage, but it's also up to the coach to put them in a position to be able to do that. So the play calling and all sorts of stuff has been very disappointing this year. Hello, Jay. DJ is on your Vikings. I would like to see DJ play for the Vikings. I think he's going to be able to revive his career a bit there, and I think he's in really good hands with Kevin O'Connell. Belichick signed 5 years with UNC. So I read that it was 3 years, and then I read somewhere else that it was 4 years. I don't know how long it is. It doesn't matter. He signed a multi-year deal with UNC. Do you think he burned bridges in the NFL? I don't know if I would say that he burned bridges. I think that's definitely a possibility. I think maybe he knew he just wanted to do something different. Maybe he was really humbled this offseason when there were a lot of opportunities for head coaching jobs and he didn't get a single one of them in the NFL. So he felt like maybe it's up to me to do something different. So I don't know. I also have heard speculation that he wanted to do something that would set his kids up to be able to be coaches. And I wonder if that was part of the deal with UNC, that in however long he could bring in Steve. I heard he has a daughter who's coaching, which I didn't know that. That's amazing if it's true. I only ever see Steve with his like mullet and clipboard on the sidelines doing whatever he does as a coach. So it'll be interesting, but I love the move for the pure comedy aspect of it. The memes, the videos, the like everything that I've seen about this, top notch, incredible content. It's perfection. I love it. Best of luck to him. Daniel Jones on the Vikings is the perfect place. Totally agree with you. Kevin, fix Sam Darnold. He could possibly fix Jones. Yes. Whatever the offensive coaching staff is doing in Minnesota, they are doing a fantastic job. I also think for guys like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, who have been in New York, who have been under a lot of pressure and who have had a really high expectation since the day that they got here, I think that really took a toll on both of them. And I think being in a place like Minnesota, where you probably have 3 beat writers as opposed to 25, and you can kind of like learn on your own and develop without maybe the stress of all the chaos and the media. So I think for Daniel Jones, it was the perfect option. It's amazing to see what he's done with Darnold. Okay, would you want Joe and Brian at least 1 or 2 more years because they need to pick their quarterback? If they pick a quarterback, if they draft a rookie quarterback, I think they have to stay 2 years because you don't develop a rookie quarterback overnight. This team obviously has a lot of holes. And what I would do if I was them, you draft a rookie quarterback and you start Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, Justin Fields, some sort of veteran quarterback, and you let the young guy develop. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't care if it's Shedeur Sanders at number 1 or if it's Dylan Gabriel in round 2. Do not let them play week 1. These guys have to learn. Everyone says, oh, Brian Dable's offense is so complicated, blah, blah, blah. Let them learn and develop at their own time, at their own pace. If whoever the veteran quarterback is by week 7 is winning games, but, making mistakes or doesn't look great, and you feel like that's a good time to put in the rookie, then do it. But I would not do what the Bears did to Caleb Williams. Their offensive line is atrocious. Give the team time to mesh, to gel, etc. I would draft a rookie. Under no circumstances am I throwing them in there week 1. So because of all that, if you don't even see the rookie quarterback play for year 1, a whole year, then you really don't know what you're getting until you see them in year 2. So I think you have to give them 2 years. I have not watched a ton of Dylan Gabriel. Some of the things that I've seen, I do like from him. I think it all depends on what draft pick they end up getting. Personally, I like Cam Ward better. And I think if we have an opportunity to get Cam Ward, I think you have to take him. Unless they decide to go Travis Hunter and they get a Dylan Gabriel later, which I also would be on board with because, like I said, this team has a lot of holes. So not being a troll, just myself noticing a lot from what I've seen the Giants players and their health problems, let alone their focus problems. Nija, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry if I did that wrong. I agree with you 100%. And I don't like to call for people's jobs, but Ronnie Barnes is the head of the medical staff. And when the Giants are the most injured team in the league for a decade, something is not right. And it's something to do with the strength and conditioning, or it's something to do with their treatments. Is it the cleats? Is like, I don't know what it is because they play on all different surfaces. They play on grass during training camp. They have new turf at MetLife. They play at other stadiums, and they're always injured with a million different injuries, more so than any other team. Something is not right. And Ronnie Barnes is in his 70s. Like, enough with these old men. I'm sorry. Bill Belichick, Ronnie Barnes, you guys are in your 70s, okay? Call it quits. Retire, go part-time, live and enjoy the rest of the time that you have left on this planet, okay? The what's it called? Like, average lifespan is what, 80s? Like, call it quits. You're also dealing with the worst team in the league. Like, just, it's time to move on. I want some young blood, someone who is a little bit more technically advanced, someone who, I don't know, maybe knows a little bit more about modern day technologies. And I don't care what anyone says about Ronnie Dable, that he's up to date and adapting and all this BS. Then again, tell me why we are the most injured team in the league for a decade running. And tell me why players who have played every single game for their entire career on other teams come to the Giants and all of a sudden get injured and miss games. There is something not right. And no one is ever going to convince me that it's not the medical staff. I want to see proof from the medical staff and what goes on in that building that it's not them. And until then, fix it. It's ridiculous. There is this narrative going around with Dable, and I will say I agree with this, that it's not hard to coach Josh Allen. Josh Allen improved beyond anything, and a lot of it has to do with the work that he put in on his own and not necessarily Brian Dable. So I do think Dable is a good quarterback coach. I think he's obviously limited with what he can do. I don't think you can turn Tommy DeVito, who has a limited skill set, into Tom Brady. Like, I understand that. So part of me wants to see him with a rookie quarterback. I think that he's a better offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach than he is head coach, because the more I hear from people, I heard from Dan Duggan today, he's talking about how, Dable is that players coach in the locker room. The players do like him. And it's not like it was at the end of Joe Judge's tenure when the players were like, we don't like this guy. He's still going so hard at us. The season is over. He's talking bullshit and whatever. The players like Dable, but I just don't think that he's a good head coach. And I don't like that he lets things slide. Like, he says all this stuff, oh, we're working on fundamentals and we're working on techniques. Then why did they all suck at it for 12 weeks now? Tell me why. What is not translating when every week you have a good practice and for some reason you get out on the field and you literally suck? And there's no consequences for that. Like, I don't need them to run laps or like sit in timeout, but you have to be able to coach these guys and help them improve, because what are we doing? You're in your third year and this team is worse, significantly worse than they were 2 years ago. It's just not okay. Cha, welcome. Thank you. We all know Belichick went there to check out the cheerleaders. I have so many questions. Like, is the girlfriend coming with him? Are they going to do long distance? Does he have a private plane? Is he going to fly her back and forth? Like, is she moving there? Is he going to live on campus? Like, are they going to break up? I need to know the ins and outs of this. So Mike Vrabel is technically not still available. He is an assistant coach with the Browns, but he might be available towards the end at the end of the season. So we'll see what happens with him. I do think if the Giants came to him and were like, we want you to be head coach, he'd be like, yeah, I'm out of Cleveland. So I don't actually think that would be an issue. The thing that I really like about Vrabel is he has a long tenure of being a head coach and being a winning head coach. So I really like that. I love Ben Johnson. I think what he's doing with Detroit is amazing, and I think that he would be fantastic. The only thing I worry about with Ben Johnson is that he has not been a head coach before. And like I said, we're on our third head coach who was never a head coach, and it's not working. And I get it. These guys have to learn at some point, but I would rather it be Vrabel, the head coach, and Ben Johnson as the OC. So I don't know. That worries me a little bit. Pete Rozelle intervened and hired George Young for the Giants in 79. Will Goodell do the same for Merritt? No way. I don't think so. If Goodell is not getting involved with the dumpster fire that is the Jets and has been the Jets for half a century now, he's not going to get involved at this point, I don't think, with the Giants. No trust in Shane's drafting anymore. That's totally fair. Yes, I did see the video of Shedeur Sanders at the Knicks game a couple nights ago. Oh, 75 to 80. 75 to 78 is the lifespan. If you live to 80 plus, you are in overtime. There you go. Like, you're living out your last years dealing with this BS. Why? I don't know. I just think there's probably better ways to end your life, to like live those last couple years out. Not at MetLife Stadium in the cold, watching the worst football team play for the last few years. Jets play on the same field. Yes, that is always my argument too, is that also they got new turf 2 years ago almost. So it's not always the turf. Yes, that I think has been part of it up until now. But the Jets play at MetLife and they are not injured as much as the Giants are. And I'm assuming in Florham Park, they also have grass like the Giants have at the training facility, but I don't know what it is. I would also like the Giants to have their own stadium with grass. I don't think they're going to. Jersey can keep the Jets. I would be on board with the Giants going back to New York. That would be fine by me. Like if they want to come a little bit into like the Westchester area, sign. I will pay. I will add to the GoFundMe for that because it would make my life a hell of a lot easier. Brian needs to fix the coaching staff. This is what I'm worried about with Dable is that if they keep Shane and Dable here again next year, I don't think they're going to get rid of Shane Bowen unless he wants to mutually leave, which I'm sure he's on a multi-year deal. So I don't, if he's willing to break the contract, sure, I guess. But it's how bad is it going to look on Dable if he, in his, what, next year is going to be his 4th year, he's on his 3rd coordinator. So I'm a little worried about that. But I do think that I'm not sold on Shane Bowen needing to come back here. I do think that talent has been an issue. So obviously he has not had the best defensive line or linebackers or corners in the league. Do I think that if we upgrade all of those positions, he's going to fix the defense? Not necessarily, but they should be a hell of a lot better than what they are right now. So it's going to be very interesting. Yes. Thank you, Moo. Please like and subscribe. And on Wednesdays, like the big Moo, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I'm just reading your handle. Said on Wednesdays, Giants Collective with me, Entertainer, Bad Dog, and Anthony from Fireside Giants. We have a lot of fun on there. Practice in game this week is not the same thing. You can practice all week against your guys. You have to play against people that don't like you. Yes, that tells you about your team. Well, we learned this after training camp, right? Because a lot of us went to training camp. We saw some good things, some not some good things, but overall we felt like, okay, we're seeing some good stuff, even against the Lions. Like they practiced really well against the Lions in camp. The Jets was not as good, but still you're looking at it like, okay, going into this team, you know, or going into the season, this team should be pretty good. And we all know how that went. Kevin, I thought about that. I thought about if they get rid of Shane and Dable, and let's say they bring in Vrabel has worked with Bowen. So I think there's a very good possibility that Vrabel would keep Bowen at defensive coordinator, which if Vrabel comes in as opposed to Dable, do I feel a little bit better about him keeping Shane Bowen? Maybe, because they have that experience together. Vrabel has a lot of experience as a defensive coach. He's, you know, hopefully going to help him with whoever the GM is, bring in some better defensive players in free agency and the draft. So would it make that much of a difference? I mean, I have to assume it would make some of a difference because can't get that much worse, right? If Wink stayed, how much more improved would the defense be? So I think the biggest difference that we would see in the defense is the sack numbers would be higher because you would have Kayvon, who thrived in Wink's system last year, and you would have Burns as opposed to Aziz or Jihad Ward on the other side of Kayvon. Now you've got Burns, who's a much bigger talent and better edge rusher. So I honestly think that would be the big difference. Does that mean we would have won a lot more football games? I don't know. Probably not. But I do think that it would make a difference from that perspective. Guys, this may sound wild, but hear me out. Trade the Chargers, Cam Ward, and we take Justin Herbert. So I thought last year, because Harbaugh went to the Chargers, I thought they were for sure going to take JJ McCarthy and think about trading Herbert. But I think one of the reasons why Harbaugh went there is because he loves Justin Herbert. So I don't see them giving up Herbert. This is my proposal. If I am Joe Schoen, I am calling the Bears and I am saying, listen, we can help each other out and not ruin our franchises because it's heading that way for both of us. And let's fix it. The Bears, this is now their 3rd quarterback after drafting that they have fired the head coach. Now they're going to bring in a new head coach who messes up the quarterback. They did it with Trubisky. They did it with Justin Fields, and they're about to do it with Caleb Williams. So I'm Joe Schoen, and I say, listen, I'm going to give you our 1st overall pick. You give me Caleb Williams. We're going to help him here. And then you guys, with your new coach, can talk to your GM and you guys decide who you want to draft this year. You'll have the potential to take anyone. You could take that pick and trade it for someone else. Do whatever you want to do. But you're going to ruin another quarterback for the third time in a row. Don't do it. Save yourself. And I'll give you the number 1 overall pick so you can take Sanders if you want, or you can take Ward or Travis Hunter. You can trade out and get more draft picks. You can do whatever you want to do. That's what I'm doing if I'm Joe Schoen. I'm in Connecticut right now. It's 30s. It's cold today. Remember when New York wanted the Jets to move to the west side of Manhattan at the rail yards like 15 years ago? I don't know why they didn't do that. Why do we have to share with the Jets? The Yankees and the Mets both have their own stadiums. Why do we have to share? Could do without that. Yeah, 35 at the Jersey Shore. It's basically the same in Connecticut. It was in the 60s yesterday, DJ. Damn. Or bridge Caleb for the 2026 draft of Arch Manning. Guys, Arch Manning is not coming out in 2026. Okay, I need everyone open your ears and hear me loud and clear. Okay, Arch Manning is not coming out in 2026. He's going to do what both of his Super Bowl winning MVP caliber uncles did and say 4 years in college, because Arch Manning has played approximately 1.5 college football games. That's it. So even if he plays a full season next year, it's 1 full season of college football. He is not going to the draft in 2026. I did hear the quarterback class is going to be better next year, but I think that if John Mara keeps Shane and Dable, he's going to say to them, I'm keeping you for 2 years because you have to bring in a rookie quarterback and you have 2 years to try and fix this thing now. So I don't know. Well, listen, if I could get Caleb Williams, I'd be all in on that. That's what I would do. Cliff Kingsbury wants to be the coach with the Bears. He helped Caleb in USC. Cliff is doing well, though. He's the offensive coordinator for the Commanders, I think. And they're doing amazing there. I don't think he would leave anytime soon. Obviously, we don't know, but he's doing a really nice job with the Commanders. So I would be surprised if after finally getting them their first winning season in a long time, he would jump ship. Maybe he would, because he could have the head coach opportunity there, but this whole coaching carousel is going to be very interesting this offseason. I'm excited to see it. I'm in Virginia and it's 46 this evening, working on finishing up some sports anthems. Fun. I don't want Arch Manning to go to the Cowboys. I just stay out of the NFC East. You can go anywhere else outside of them when he gets drafted in 2028. But it'll be interesting. So as of right now, the Giants have 7 draft picks. They could potentially have more. So they're going to have around $60 million in cap space to fix up this team, which they have a tall task. So let's quickly talk Yankees and Mets for all of my baseball fans here. Obviously, very exciting week for both teams. I know the Yankees fans week started off rough when Juan Soto decided to go to the Mets, which clearly was the right move for him. He's getting paid an ass load of money. So good for him. After that happened, so the Yankees made a couple other signings this week. So today they announced that they signed a 2-time All-Star and 2-time National League Reliever of the Year, right-hand pitcher Devin Williams from the Brewers. And in exchange, they traded Nestor Cortez, Caleb Durbin, and some cash money. So enjoy that, the Brewers. I think it was the right move. I think knowing that we're going to have him and Dreamweaver as our closers, I feel really good about that. I love what Weaver did last year, but I think have it, you need someone other than him, and also knowing that Clay Holmes is not going to be the closer anymore is music to my ears as a Yankees fan now. Speaking of Clay Holmes, the Mets announced that they have signed Clay Holmes, but they are going to do the smart thing, hopefully, and they are going to make him a starter and not a closer, because after you destroy 10 games and you have 10 plus blown leads, you should never be a closer. Should have never gotten to double digits. That's on the Yankees and their genius ideas. But that's where they're at. So and the Yankees also traded with the Red Sox. Did you look at that? A little interdivision trade. That they acquired minor league right-hand pitcher Elmer Rodriguez Cruz and international signing bonus pool money from the Red Sox in exchange for catcher Carlos Narvaez. So couple moves this week. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what continues to happen through these winter meetings and stuff. I was hoping that the Yanks were going to trade for Kyle Tucker, but he just went to the Cubs today. So that's a bit of a bummer, but I'd like to see them bring in Bellinger. For me, that's the ideal next move there. If you're a Mets fan, I think the ideal next move is to re-sign Pete Alonso. He wants to be a Met. I'm wondering if there are any conversations between, Juan Soto and Alonso. Apparently there were no conversations between him and Yankees players, which sure, Ron. Sure. Soto in 2039 will look like Bartolo Colon. Now the Yankees got 10 leads and got good trades. Interesting. Well, that's because they saved $700 million. So now they can go do whatever they want. And the Yankees already signed Max Fried too, someone else that they signed earlier this week. So I'm excited to see what continues to play out over the next few weeks. I think it's going to be very interesting. And I am, I'm optimistic about these Yankees. I went into last year being like, let's see what happens. But there's a lot of time before spring training starts. We have about 60 days, which is crazy. It's going to be here before we know it. So, all right, what other sports baseball talk we got in here? Did you hear the buffoonery that came out of Soto's mouth about being a Mets city now? I sure did. I have a lot of things to say about that. This is what I'm going to say is good luck winning a World Series with the Mets. And I'll leave it at that. But also, you got paid almost $1 billion, and all of this stuff came out that he's with the private suite, and he was whining that the Yankees players didn't call him to try and get him to stay. That's not their job. You said all season, oh, if I'm going to be a Yankees, oh, well, it's up to Cashman. It's up to Cashman. The fuck you want Aaron Judge to do about it? Who knows? Maybe he went to him and said, oh yeah, you should re-sign him. You should do this. You should do that. Maybe he did. You don't know that one. And also the whole thing with private security, please, you are not Beyonce. Do you know how many millions of Americans would trip over you in the street and not know who you are, Ron Soto? Because you know who's not tripping over Beyonce? Anyone, literally any American that saw her would be like, I know who that is. So anyway, I'm sorry, almost $1 billion for one player is literally insane. It's not my money. I don't care what these teams do with it. But the only thing is, for all of the people who are like, oh, Yankees bought championships, blah, blah, blah. You better start saying that about the Mets. Okay. Yes, I agree. Devin Williams was a good trade for Cortez. We definitely needed the buffer of another good reliever outside of Weaver. And like I said, I love Weaver, but the more the merrier. The pitching rotation was a little curious last year. So I will be curious if they trade Heel. I like Heel. Obviously, he won the Rookie of the Year. He had a really good year last year, but we need some bats. So I would like some power hitters to come in here. Juan Soto now with the Mets. I am happy. I know a lot of Mets fans are super happy about it. You should be. There is no doubt he is a very good baseball player. He's probably going to do great things for the Mets. And like I said, it's not our money. I don't care what he gets paid. Do I think almost $1 billion is insane? 100%. Literally insane. And like he's not Shohei, let's be honest. But he will be a good player with the Mets, no doubt. He's not Beyonce. I'm just saying, like any American knows Beyonce. They don't all know Juan Soto. You don't need private security for you and your whole family. But Steve Cohen was like, give him whatever he wants. And if I'm Juan Soto, I would be like, I want a house, in the Hamptons. I want a $10 million house in the Hamptons. Forget about security. I want a private plane. Like, so sure, I would be doing that. He messed up those negotiations. And Steve Cohen is willing to give you whatever you want. I want a private plane. I want a 24/7 driver. I want a mansion in the Hamptons with security around there. And I want a penthouse in New York City. And then a Porsche, an Audi Spider, with you take security over that? I mean, come on. I would go for those things. Scott Boras only cares about the money. Soto wanted a free suite. Yes, he does. He does think he's Mariah Carey. That is an excellent comparison. Because that's what I mean. Like, this is like, I don't know. It's just do whatever you want. Like I said, he's going to play well for the Mets. Mets fans are going to love him as they should. I just think some of the things that are coming out about the negotiations are kind of insane. And like, teams don't do free suites. You're getting paid almost $800 million. You can afford a suite for your family for the games. How do you feel about Dave Sims taking over for John Sterling? John Sterling is going to be missed big time. It's not going to be the same without him. I think we're all going to go through a little bit of a depression, once he's out for good. It was nice to have him come back for the playoffs. I think it'll take some getting used to, but I think he'll be good. No one is ever going to be John Sterling, but I'm curious to see, if he's going to have his own like Sterling isms. Like, is he going to have a specific way that he calls a home run? Is he going to come up with different nicknames of players? Like, that's the stuff that I'll be excited to hear him say, and obviously, differentiate himself from Sterling in that way. But I'll be excited about him. I have 100% thought of this because obviously I've thought about, if I win the lottery, what am I buying? If I win the lottery, there will be signs. Now you guys know what the signs are. I'll be driving a Porsche. Did you hire the plane and banner last game? I was at the 1978 plane banner and the 2024 plane banner. Jeez, I'm old. I did not. I did see it at the tailgate and I was like, this is incredible. And Talking Giants was like joking around that they were going to do a GoFundMe and stuff. And then they were like, if whoever tells us that they did it, like if they can prove that they did it, we'll like do some stuff for you. And I'm like, should I do it for this week? But then I heard it was $2,000 and I was like, no. If it was like a couple $100, would I consider it? You bet your ass I would. If I win the lottery, there will be signs. I will say that. But no, it was not me. I want to know who did it though, because honestly, I think it's Marcy would like to say hello. Hi, Marcy. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi, my girl? My girl. So anyway, if I want the person to come forward because I think it was hysterical. And I want to know, like, how long did it take them to come up with that banner? Like, did they only have a certain amount of letters that they were able to use? Did they go through a bunch of different iterations? Was that the best one that they could come up with? Because the dumpster fire was fantastic. And I thought about it and I'm like, what would I say? And I really don't know. I would have to, excuse me, I would have to go through it. I would probably say something like clean house or get us a new coach. I don't know. It has to be something funnier, but something along those lines. Trying to find a snake or a cupcake outfit for when the Mets come play the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. I love this. I love it. If you find a snake costume, you can also wear it to Giants versus Eagles. Just saying. On that note, I'm out. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Like I said, I'm going to go live again on Sunday during the Giants versus Raven games. We can live stream. Maybe we'll see Marcy. We could talk baseball, football, bets, how everyone's weekend was. And I will see you guys on Sunday. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Have fun. Stay warm. It's going to be cold. But enjoy. And I'll be back on Sunday. Thanks, guys. Go Giants.